Well, the world is mourning the death of Pope Francis today, who died after suffering from a stroke and heart failure at the age of 88. It brings to an end his 12-year papacy, which is being remembered for his efforts to forge a more open and compassionate Catholic Church. For their take, let's bring in Daily Telegraph journalist James Willis and the founding director of Western Sydney Women, Amanda Rose. Good morning to you. What legacy do you think the Pope will leave us with?
I think it's going to be different according to individuals. So everyone has their own personal connection to the Pope or to the Church, and so every single person is going to feel a different type of grief. Some people might think this is an opportunity to get closer to God because they'll be grieving so they can turn to Jesus himself or something like that, or even work with their church more. We don't know, but I think it's going to be also a time of what's happening next. I think people don't like uncertainty when it comes to their faith.
Yeah, exactly. James, the Prime Minister called him a modernist. He advanced several progressive causes within this big machine called the Catholic Church, didn't he? And one of the headlines today called him the Great Disruptor.
Yeah, and he looked after the marginalised and stood up for a range of causes from the homeless to refugees. But I think Anthony Fisher, the Archbishop of Sydney, put it best. I went and spoke to him last night. He gave a big media press conference after the death of Pope Francis, and he said that a few years ago, Anthony Fisher had lost his mother and had to go to Rome a week after. And the Pope, who was meeting thousands of people every day, was shaking everyone's hand as he came along, and it was Archbishop Fisher's turn, and the Pope shook his hand and said, "I'm sorry to hear about the death of your mother." And that really stuck with him. So despite his presence and his fame and his prominence, that he did have that spiritual connection and that deep care for individuals. So I thought that story sort of summed up what he was all about, Pope Francis.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Moving on. Health funds are in the spotlight this morning, with some insurers revealed to have raised their premiums by up to 18% this month, which is well above the 3.73% average approved by our Federal Health Minister. This is gouging, surely, Amanda. How can they get away with this?
An insurance company gouging you? Surprise, surprise. No, look, this is actually horrific. And when you think about it, this is about health. So you can't have a government saying, we care about your health with the election promises, and then behind the scenes, they're allowing the insurance companies, private insurance companies, you know, with the health to raise it at such a level that people are actually dropping off. And when you think about it, if you just ask, 5 friends, I guarantee you 3 of them will say, I actually didn't get much back from my health refund from the private health insurance. So what is the value in it? So if someone did a comparison and looked at the value of how much you're spending versus how much you're actually getting back, I think a lot of people will go off their private health insurance and back onto Medicare only.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a tax. You have to. There's a certain amount you get taxed if you don't, isn't there, James?
And in fairness, look, I have heard stories about people that have gone into trouble on their health front, and the private system has saved them tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, what I would say is Amanda's right. Every year that they go up and you open the bill and you go and they say, hey, by the way, it's up $20 this year per month, the premiums that we get and the services that we get are not improving. This is to cover their costs, which they say are going up, but the gap there is significant. And we are, look, I think on every front, when people open their car insurance bill, their home insurance bill, they have gone up dramatically in the past few years, and it's really biting Aussies. But also, if Mark Butler's telling people that they're meant to go up by 3.7% and they go up by as high as you say, then what's doing?
Yeah, and you can't say, we care about your health, in Australia, vote for us, but we're just going to let the insurance company rip you off.
Is it the government's fault?
Well, the government is supposed to regulate these things. That's why we have...
Are they private companies?
Yeah, but it's like, so are the banks, right? So, but the government is supposed to say, well, actually, we need to encourage you, or we need to put in legislation, or we need to... So the government is happy to legislate everything else, like when it comes to business, like people's pay and so forth. So with this, they need to say, well, do we need to put in a mechanism here to make sure that you're actually not getting ripped off by insurance companies? And not just in health, mind you, in other areas.
But as far as health, aren't we in a free market economy? So people should be saying, hang on, no one's going to go with the people who are putting it up 18%. They're going to go with the people who are sticking with the 3%.
Yeah, well, every year there's a bit of a to and fro between the companies and the health minister to try and get what is a fair sort of yardstick. But the fact that they're much higher than what the health minister said they should be is a problem. I'd encourage people to shop around, just like we do on energy, because...
Or just pay the Medicare levy, because we have a very good health system in Australia as it is, and just pay the 2%.
Yeah, unless, as you say, you run into people who need an operation and then you have to go in line in the system.
Well, that's the thing, is they rely on the fact that people, especially older people, and this is what really frustrates me, elderly people who need care will get private health insurance because they need it. And they go, oh, we've got you now, you need it, let's increase it by 80%.
Well, you're right. We have to shop around.
Yeah,
go onto one of those comparison websites, because it's the loyalty tax. If you stick with the same one, you are penalised.
And if you threaten that you're leaving, like with anything,
they
kind of like
you.
a relationship, all of a sudden they step up.
That's what they did to me. They besieged me with calls and texts and emails.
We love you.
Also, is there any chance of having some extras you actually use? Like, I look at mine and go, OK, get a bit of dental, maybe the odd physio, and then they give you some weird stuff that you never use. I just like some stuff I can use. Running shoes, maybe a treadmill.
Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't even pay for my orthotics.
Trip to Bali, get away for 7 days, Byron Bay.
No.
Anyway.
OK, let's have a look at this. How about hair dye? Actor George Clooney has made a hilarious revelation about what his family thinks about him dyeing his hair black for his Broadway production. Take a look.
It's not my favourite look, and my wife,
yes,
she doesn't. She thinks it's funny.
What do your children say?
Well, they laugh at it, because honestly, nothing makes you look older than being 63 and dyeing your hair.
James, now none of us know Amal, but somehow you can hear Amal taking the mickey out of him with that hair dye.
He looks like one of the T-Birds from Greece. Like, it looks... Why did he... Oh, anyway, I know he had to do it for reasons, but God, he was the original Silver Fox. I'm happy to be corrected on that, but... look, I think if you can avoid having the foils as a bloke, you should, because the grey's a good look.
Does he look older?
He looks creepy, right? So this is a message to all the men out there. If you have grey hair, it's actually really good. We like it. Women like it. Do not get the box dye. Do not try and look younger. You're going to look ridiculous. Embrace the grey.
But it's OK for us to colour ours.
Of course. You know why? Because the world doesn't like a woman with grey hair, but the world loves a man with grey hair.
Oh, she said it, not me. I'm still dyeing mine. Mine's booked in for Thursday. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And blokes in TV do it.
See you.